managed to scrape together an old project of sorts. Not exactly um, the most organized, and this was actually used as a demo for a previous version of this class, but I took the liberty of adding a bunch of other goodies just for the heck of it, and it's like a big smorgasbord of stuff. First things first, this video is all about post-processing. At this point, you should know how to put all your objects in a scene, texture your creations, and properly UV unwrap them, but also make them, the models, etc., along with any animations. If you needed to simplify your animation because of scope or timing, please let me know. This will apply indefinitely, so just communicate with me and we'll figure something out, because you can always make interesting things just within Unity itself. So let's get on to digging in here. Post-processing, it's a beautiful thing. Basically it makes things look better, but you need two things. You need three things really. You need a camera, and then you need a post-processing layer and a post-processing volume, all of which can be found in many different parts through many different means. But essentially, for what we want, I would just make a new folder and work out of that. Here we have some prefabs, which actually may include, doesn't look like it, may include some items that you could use. However, I want to start from scratch because I think it's important to know how to go about this. So, first step here is to find your camera. First person character should be holding the camera underneath FPS controller. You could be using a different FPS controller, and that's fine. Just find the camera within it. I've also attached my character here just for the heck of it, that I've made. Very basic and sort of low poly, but she's a winner. First person character, camera. We're going to add components and post process. If it doesn't pop up, chances are you may have to go ahead and download something, or perhaps there's something else that needs to be done with regard to the scene itself. So I'll take a minute, and I may have to download a package. If that's the case, not a huge deal, and I'll show you the process. So once you get to the package manager window, that's located in Window, Package Manager, select that. You'll scroll down in the Unity Registry box. You want to select Unity Registry, not in project, not my assets, but Unity Registry, and you'll see that there are a lot of things, but for the most part we just want this post-processing, which is not installed, hence the reason why I couldn't find it. So install, and this is just in case yours isn't populating. Yours probably will, but I figured I'd just show you the process just in case. So you'd wait for this to compile. A dialog box may or may not populate, to which you would import specific items from the list. And because it's editor oriented, we didn't really need to pick and choose, right? Just kind of threw it in there, the package is in, and now we are good to go, and we are golden. So let's find out what we need here. So in underneath 3D object, you'll see something called post process volume. This is something that will trigger the post process from occurring. It's something necessary, of course. So If it's not triggered by anything, then, well, nothing's really going to take place, I guess, if you want to call it that. Typically, we would put this in front of the camera in some type of way. In this case, I know that for a fact that my FPS controller is right here. And it could be, well, technically it could be attached to it, or you could just have it simply maintain its post-process by issuing it as a global, and it just applies to the whole scene. So you don't have to really mess around with the triggering too much. Feel free to put it kind of in the center of the scene, if you will, or just simply out of the way. But as long as you have it set to is global, you should be fine. Nothing is occurring yet because we don't have an actual profile for it. So let's actually make one. We're gonna make one, and we'll try to attach it to the. Let's see here, Unity. I want to actually add a bunch of these goodies here because this is important. Let's add ambient occlusion. I'd also like to add bloom because that is some good stuff. And why not add a little bit of grain, and color grading wouldn't be bad, right? And some vignette. Yes. Screen space reflections I'm not too concerned about. I wouldn't mind having a little bit of a vignette. Let's go ahead and dock our game view to the side so we can see the impact. So within the game view, a couple of things I can see here. Pretty stark. The models are really kind of haphazard and horrible. Basically just gray boxing essentially with a couple of plants. I really threw this together merely to show you how something crappy can actually look a lot better with post-processing. So I did this on purpose. So let's get into that. Here we have mode. I want to go with the classic mode where it just kind of feathers over the top. We can adjust the color if we'd like. The intensity definitely needs to be adjusted. And it may take a couple of tries for it to kind of function the way you want. You may actually have to press play to see anything come about from it. So that is that. So if I press play, let's just see what happens here. I think it's going to maximize. So I'm not seeing much of a difference yet. And the reason being is that it doesn't have an attachment to a camera yet. It isn't a child to a parent. And the parent, well, it's non-existent. So we need to go find that parent. The parent would be located in first person character. Camera is the main source of action here, and we want to actually give it the appropriate profile that we wish it to have. Post-process layer is what we're looking for. Now this is the first person character transform. The trigger is this, and it'll be triggered by what you have as the volume in the scene, and ours is a global volume, so it'll be triggered no matter what. At the moment there is no layer selected, and this is sort of an important aspect of post-processing. You want to make sure that, well, it has a layer, and ideally you would have a layer called post-processing. How do you make a new layer? Well, you go to layers and edit layers, and then you just add one in. In this case, I'll call it post-process. And we'll select that from the inspector. We'll go back to our first person controller, back down to post-process layer within the inspector, and we shall select post-process. That warning goes away. I do want anti-aliasing. Couple things to note, this is going to be your most optimized, fast, approximate anti-aliasing. Alright, you can already see a difference, it's actually quite nice. Aliasing comes about from the stepping of propagation of white pixels as it's trying to interact with light. And you get this sort of jagged stuff going on. A couple of things that can help with that is jitter of the camera. It can help to kind of blur out those white anomalies and sometimes black anomalies, white anomalies though. Normally we don't really need stop non-propagation, but fast mode is ideal. It's okay to keep the alpha, it's not exactly necessary. Temporal anti-aliasing is a much better quality, but you know the system runs a little bit slower off of that one, so you just have to be careful with it. I think in our case there isn't a whole lot that we're rendering. It'll probably be fine, but yeah, that remains to be seen once we press play, right? This is what I was talking about with regard to jitter speed. So you can actually adjust this jitter to achieve more quality from what would be the rendering of the frames and the aliasing, anti-aliasing. I can already tell just from the edges, their edges are a lot softer and they're definitely a lot nicer in regards to interacting with light, and yeah, there's a big difference here. Subpixel morphological anti-aliasing, also a lovely one, but has a little bit of a system cost as well. Just be aware of that. These could be adjusted in many ways. The anti-aliasing, where you know, there's different sort of levels, right? 2x, 4x, 8x, etc. That can actually be adjusted and limited within the game settings itself. So if you were to go to build settings, player settings, just drag my window over here, and then down into graphics, that'd be for tiers. It was quality. And there you are, 2x, 4x, 8x, and that would be the sample limitation. I've only allowed it to sample twice, so it's not going to be the best quality, but it'll be alright. That's essentially where that is. So underneath quality in the project settings, I always get them mixed up, so I end up going somewhere wrong at first. Normal, I suppose. Looking into more things here, that is important. Make sure you have that in there. I'll keep subpixel. Why not? We'll go to the FPS controller again. This time I just want to take note of this guy here. This is our volume blending. Layers post-process. Now I have to find the actual volume itself, the post-process volume itself, which is way down here. I want to bring that above everything else. Just that's what I like to do with post-processing. We'll keep that as such. Keep the profile as such. This has to go on the post-process layer though, otherwise it's not going to function with post-processing. So, and there we are, we have a little bit of a difference there, so that's nice. Yeah, and we can increase, now we have things changing, right? Kind of nice. We can adjust the smoothness. The intensity obviously can be weighed back a little bit. Maybe you want to change it to masked. Kind of cheap looking, right? But good for mobile. Roundness, perhaps not too round. Maybe not rounded at all, right? A lot of things can be done. So now that we have this in place, we can begin to play around with settings, adjust things to make this, what would be a crappy scene, look kind of interesting, and at least a little bit more interesting than what it previously was. So if I turn this off, this is our scene before, all right? Now we're going to make this even better by turning this back on. Keep in mind it is already improved based on the anti-aliasing we've implemented. Save your work. Importante. Color grading. Does not hurt to look into this. We are not using high definition range or HDRP render pipeline. So this sort of doesn't completely, this mode I should say, doesn't really cater to what we're doing. So just feel free to kind of bypass that or change it to low definition range. That's fine. And you can adjust the overall temperature of your work just by sort of giving it a little bit more of something, sort of like this. So if I were, maybe I'll do something kind of like that. Cool it off just a tad. Maybe I'll add a little color filter as well, just to give it a little bit more of an ambiance, perhaps more of a pink color. And this is useful because some of my items aren't actually colored that pink-ish color like everything else in the scene. Like the prop here, the propeller here, the building, everything was kind of colored in pink, so to speak. So before and after, right? And we'll go back to that before and after when we're done. Contrast is a big one. I would not mind giving a little bit more contrast. I think it is a wee bit flat, partly due to the horrible lighting that I have in place here. Wouldn't mind giving that a little bit more love, so to speak. Something like that. That gives it a little bit more character, I guess. Kind of bring that up too. So get back to that point light, which is here. Bring that up so it's not too crazy. I'd like to take a moment to also color in this guy. I'm not a huge fan of. I would love to have this be a little bit different. I don't mind it if it's distorted, but I like to tint the color a little bit. I guess we could leave it for now. Why not leave it? We'll leave it for now. Wouldn't mind bringing it down a notch, though. I think it is a little bit too bright. Alright, very good. So that's that for that. I think that works well. You see it's changing. As for other post-process items, we can go back into our first-person controller here. Check and make sure that all this is goody. It is. And now we can begin to flesh out this post-process volume a little bit more. So we've gone through the vignette. We're set with that. Would not mind messing with the gamma a little bit. This does tend to add a little bit more it's a different version of contrast, really. I mean, it's gamma, so it's just dealing with a different set of values altogether in regards to how they work together. So just play around with all of them. Don't get caught up in one. There are many options. I'll keep a sort of dark mood. I think that's fair. We'll close that up and we'll hit the grain button here. I'm going to color it. And the intensity, I would like it to just bump up a little notch there. Don't really need any luminance contribution. This adjusts the size of the grain. Perhaps you want it to be a little smaller. That's perfectly fine. And it gives it more of a retro feel, of course, right? It's nothing crazy, but it does a good job in that regard. This is by far my favorite value when it comes to post processing. The bloom value is this is the way to make things look like the early 2000s again. Let's just put it that way, all right? If you increase this, you'll start to find halos on things, right? And you can really make it shiny and crazy. The key is to find a balance. I actually once went to therapy and I talked to my therapist. I said, listen, man, I'm having, for the life of me, I cannot match the bloom value of, this one game that I used to play. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. And the bloom value was awesome. It was like 2004. I've just been trying to find the right values to put on what I'm making now to match that, and it's just been driving me mad. And he definitely thought I should go maybe talk to my psychiatrist about some new medications because I was so obsessed with it. But it's a real thing. I'm sure you will also have conversations with people you trust your mental health with in regards to frustrations within Unity or Unreal, or just game design in general, and they would love to hear it. But yeah, this was a funny moment for me for sure. I need to find that point light again because I wanna just up the ante here with all of this and dig into a little bit more light, like that maybe. There we are. Might as well put a cube in the middle of this thing. Why not? Right? Alright, there we go. Save our work. Always save your work. You'll notice that some of my lights are kind of poking out in and out. It's just due to the fact that I have an LOD on the FPS controller. Or actually, no, on the. I think it might be on the post. Is it on the post process? I don't think so. It's on one of these. It's on something. I'm just kind of in the midst of figuring all that out. I think it has to do with the actual trees themselves. Actually, yeah, because it's just the trees that are changing. So I'm just gonna turn this off. I'll turn it off for all of them. This is basically it renders different resolutions of the tree based on depth so that it can assist in optimizing the gameplay, and also assist in optimizing, therefore creating just better FPS all around, that's the goal of optimization, right? So let's go ahead and turn it off for everything so we can just get all these beauties catching the light, so to speak. And I think our lighting will make much more sense. Yeah, I'm happier with that. Thank you. Might as well bring that off as well. And that off. And that one off. Good. Save our work there. Cool. So yeah, this is our game. Got a little bit of grain. We have bloom value in motion here. Let's go back to post post-process. We've only just begun with bloom value. This is what I love to see. So softening is going to really elevate that halo. It's going to give it a whole new brightness and ultimately give a little bit more magic to the scene. Rather threshold, excuse me. Softening does the same, but it just kind of allows you to control it more. It limits the amount, essentially. You can clamp pixels. I think I'm good with that. I don't mind that. As far as the color goes, this is always good. And you do want to choose fast mode for bloom just because of, well, optimization again, right? Always a good route to pick. Don't be afraid to play around with different colors, see what works best, and move along from there. Let me just see. Because I'm seeing I'm seeing things here where it's, yeah, I would not mind. I think I'm just going to just, do that. I think that's better. Yeah. That's what I really want, I think. Just to move this out, put it back on. Or perhaps it needs to be even shorter. Interesting. Okay. So as you go backwards and it reads where the camera is, you'll get different resolutions. In this case, it's kind of blocking things out in a weird way. I think that's quite nice. So let's stick to that one, which is basically where it was before. Moving along here, we have a little bit more to do with the post-processing, and then we'll do a before and after, and we shall be good to go. If you wanted to do something such as texture, you can actually put a mask on there. It'll dirty up the lens, so to speak, like aircraft texture here. That could be funny. Obviously, I wouldn't use that, but there's a lot of different. We could and see what happens. I guess it could be really interesting, actually. But yeah, just play around with things, see what works. That's good. Now, what's really going to make things pop is an appropriate amount of ambient occlusion. And there's different ways to render out this. You can use a multi-scale volumetric obscurance. Volumetric ambient ambient occlusion in general comes in these two forms, and some do more than others. One does more than the other, I should say. Multi-scale is usually nice. It's a good default. Scalable can be a little bit tricky. Obviously, you have to adjust for certain intensities and the like. In particular, you have to adjust for a radius, and that's, maybe best if you're trying to really keep it enclosed. In our case, we want to just have that ambient occlusion thrive throughout. And adjust for thickness as well. So multi-scale, right? As far as color goes, you can keep it how it's populating. If you wanted it to be a little bit more on the purple side, I don't think it would hurt anything. Certainly would be a lovely addition to the realm of colors here. And you can also just print, or rather override, so that it's ambient only that it's looking at. But you would need to be in deferred or high definition, range, which is that high def render pipeline that we are not in at the moment. Right now we're in built in pipeline, so a little bit different. But as you can tell, some major improvements, right? This is way better than it was previously. You can see the bunny bug flipping and flopping around over there. A lot of this looked really crappy before. Yeah, and I got him doing some weird jiggity jig dance. And then this airplane's about to chop me up, but it's a lot better than what it was previously. I don't even know where the plane went. Oh, looks like it just flew right into that, huh? But that is the tutorial. I want to show you what happens when we turn this off, though. And I wouldn't mind actually maximizing this view at the moment. Let's actually get out of that. We'll take a peek at what it looks like. This is actually a good way to do it. We'll take a peek at what it looks like with the volume off, which would turn all of things off. It would also turn off the anti-aliasing, theoretically. So you can tell how bland things look. It doesn't look as dimensional. It looks very like stuck on, like a pin, right? Everything, every object, there's nothing looks like it belongs, sort of. You turn the volume back on though, and things look way better. And so this is me showing you some crappy stuff and turning that crappy stuff into something at least 3 times more beautiful, right? So post-processing does a lot. I just wanted you to see that. Please have fun with it. Enjoy your time with it, and see what you can create with just the simple use of grain and bloom and ambient occlusion and anti-aliasing, of course. And look at the plane go. Where did the plane go? I have no idea. Oh, there's the plane. We're falling with the... Actually, the plane is flying and we're falling. Anyhow, enjoy the weekend, and we shall meet again.